Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Bradley number 8520. This is a 001 180 1-inch heavy-duty grab bar in satin stainless steel finish. So this is a 1-inch diameter bar that's 18-inch in length. Let's take a closer look at it. And a bar like this is going to be very commonly used on the side of a commode. I've had people install these in shower enclosures, used as, obviously, as required technically by federal code for compliance with handicap requirements, or usable and accessible design requirements. Okay, so the 8520 is the series of this bar. The 001 180 is a reference to the rest of the configuration of the bar, namely the 1-inch diameter. Okay, we've got our welded posts that are here. Okay, snap-on style flanges. Now, the extended description information down below tells us that it is a 1-inch diameter bar that is 18-inch, and that's a reference to the center to center of the bar. That's just how grab bars are measured. Going to get that held off to the center there. 18-inch center to center. The flanges are 3 1/8 of an inch diameter and are 13 gauge stainless steel, so 3 1/8. This is going to have a projection of 2.5 inch, which means the clearance is 1.5 inches. 1.5 inch clearance, 2.5 inch overall projection. Okay. Now there are several documents down below, and let's switch to the screen view so that we can dissect the part number and understand, what each forgive me, what each individual component of the part number gives us exactly the bar that we're looking at. So let's switch to the screen view now. Okay, so this is the item that we're looking at, and the document we're talking about is the product brochure that we can see here. So we fire that up. The first page of this document tells us how to assemble the part number for the grab bar. Okay, so we're dealing with how to put this part of the part number together here. So page 2 will allow us to see we're dealing with an 852 series. Okay, 852. Now let's plug that in. Series is 852. 0 in the finish option will be a standard finish, with other possible options being a safety grip finish, which would be peened, is what it would be normally called. Then you can do a polished finish over the stainless, and then you can do a polished finish with a peened surface. So that peening is naturally going to leave that bar less than thoroughly polished, but nonetheless, it will give you a shiny rather than matte sort of grab bar look. Up here, the 852 tells us that it is a 1-inch diameter bar that has a concealed flange. So the flanges, to see where the flanges are defined, they appear to not be defined for us here. Let's see if we can let's define those flanges. So I've switched over to the Bradley full-line catalog, and I'm not able to locate within their book a clear evidence in terms of what their exposed flanges and concealed flanges look like. I can tell you that exposed flanges will look similar to this, where you'll see the head of the screw is what it will ultimately be. The concealed flange, obviously we've demonstrated that in the, well, here's a look. 837. Okay, so yeah, we could have certainly have done that. The 837 was still the 852 is the 1-inch diameter bar with the concealed flange. We could look at the 857 bar to see what that would look like. I don't see that listed here. So it will look like this with an exposed flange. Okay, so that plate welded behind will ultimately leave the head of the bolts exposed. Okay, so 852 is defined as 1-inch diameter concealed flange type. You have the snap-on flange. The 0, we've talked about our finish option. Now the next 3 digits are the configuration, and that's how Bradley puts their part numbers together, their grab bars. The configuration is a 3-digit value, and as we go through here we can see all of the different configuration types. So once you visually determine what configuration type you require, that will be the next part of the part number. We're dealing with just a simple straight grab bar, so it is indeed 001, which is what we have, a 001. Then after that, in the part number, is going to come the size, which is 8520001. Now our size, our A dimension and our B dimension. So we're dealing with a 180, and that 18 is going to stand for 18-inch. And because there is dimension A, so the way to look at how they put the part number together is that is dimension A. There is no dimension B, which is where that 0 comes in, 180, because we're suppressing the B dimension portion. Okay, 180. Now when you look at a bar that's going to have an A dimension and a B dimension, like here, an 005, where you have a 32-inch height and a 16-inch width, it's obviously going to be 3216 is how that part would be ordered. Okay. If you end up having a C dimension like you would on a straddle type bar, let's scroll over to that. You'll add those 2 dimensions after the fact. So you're going to have in a straddle type bar like these, you'll have an A dimension, a B dimension, and then a C dimension. So 30, 33, 24 would be this part number, obviously. Okay, 012, 30, 33, 24. Pretty simple and straightforward. So the other interesting thing to know about grab bars is that the dimensions are always taken from the center line of the bar. So when you're dealing with a size, it'll always be the vertical center line, which means that regardless of the diameter of the bar that you have, you are still maintaining the same center line dimensions. Okay? Now, looking back at the rest of the paperwork here in terms of how to order it, we've gotten to the end of how to order the bar. After that, you can elect some fastener packages, which are detailed in a follow-up document, which we'll get to. So let's take a look now at... So product brochure has taught us how to specify our bar, installation instructions, technical data sheet, and mounting. Let's go to the technical data sheet next. So that gives us all of the specifications in terms of what the bar is made of. Okay, our flange, again, 3 1/8 inch diameter, 13 gauge stainless. And when they're saying flange, I had measured earlier the outside dimension of that, which appeared to be 3 1/8 as well, but they're referring to the mounting flange. That snap cover is certainly less important. So 13 gauge solid stainless, 3 1/8 inch diameter flange will have 2 mounting holes that you'll see if they're exposed, snap on, cover if they're concealed. 18 gauge stainless steel. Okay, bent ends of tubing pass through the flanges and are welded for maximum strength. So this is tubular material that's been bent, and then it's welded back behind the flange. We'll take a look at that evidence of the welding when we switch back to the camera view. All welds are ground and polished. Return provides 1.5-inch standard safety clearance between wall and bar. Okay, 1.5-inch clearance. Right on. Strength. The governing document is A117.1. Okay. Now, A117.1 is the document that is the culmination of the federal law signed the law that was signed in 1990, and eventually a rolling requirement of compatibility basically was phased in over the next so many years. In 1991, it became very much a requirement that this material was going to be installed. Immediate requirement to meet the new law wasn't possible because there was not material ready to people or material ready to provide and then hold accountable, so it was phased in. But it was certainly phased in. I remember how that all happened. It was as if on a Monday there was nothing but knobs that were ordered, and then on Tuesday in 1991, everything was ordered as levers. It was really interesting. But this document, speaking of interesting, you can get to the A117 document by clicking on the manufacturer's page here, and the 2010 ADA Standards for Accessible Design. This document here is going to serve as the document necessary for review and compliance. A history, of course, of the document as well. Accessible design. So, the point being, if you wanted to find information on grab bars, you could do a find function on your keyboard and type in grab bar. You'll see that section, chapter 609 section on page 181 is where you're going to get to the grab bar discussion. So if you're doing a project and you're just not sure where everything needs to be installed, no worries about that. Simply refer to this document, grab bars. It's all listed right here. We'll give you the mounting heights. We'll give you all governing requirements of your grab bars. So a really handy link to that document. You're obviously, regarding installation, you're certainly going to want to be sure that you're reinforced. Using, hollow wall anchors or toggle bolts is not properly reinforced. When properly installed, this bar will be able to handle hundreds of pounds of pressure applied to it when it's been reinforced. So solid blocking has to be the case when you're properly preparing walls for a bathroom application. Now, moving through the rest of the documents here. Installation instructions. Those are handy. Very simple and straightforward sort of information that we're talking about here. Okay, you're going to observe the height and the other dimensions required. 6-inch from the wall to the center, a range of height, say 38-inch from the floor, whatever the document, calls out for us. Now, mounting. This client happened to order these with stud walls with wood support mounting kit, which is the 010. So this client literally has received also with their order 2 packages of 2 each, 1/4 by 2.5 plated steel hex head lag bolts. So this client knew that he had wood reinforcing, or he's going into a stud. But in this case, it would certainly be wood reinforcing, I would think. because if studs are 16-inch on center, with this being 18-inch on center, I think we might be awfully close to the outside of that stud. So assuming that this has been properly reinforced, this is what the client is dealing with. Okay, and I'll show you those bolts at the end of this video. The rest of the extended description goes on to talk about the material that we've covered in terms of what it's made of, size of the tubing, diameter of the tubing, thickness I should say, the return requirement, etc. Mounting types that are available as offered for you. You can pick up those options here. Okay. The important document really is the product brochure. I find it easiest to understand how the part number is put together and then proceed accordingly. You know, your definition of series is on page 2, and then pretty much the rest of it is just showing you all of the different configurations of bar that are available. Okay, I can tell you that after straight bars, of course being the most common, the outrigger style, the wall to floor style with an outrigger and without an outrigger are very, those are very common. This is the wall to floor without an outrigger, the 054. 30 by 33 is the size that always you will find in wall to floor grab bars. Okay, so let's convert back to the camera view and wrap up this video. So I did want to revert back and show you the welding that's done. That bar passes through the flange, as they discussed earlier, and is welded to the back. Okay. Certainly a brushed finish, a peened or textured finish would serve to significantly decrease the potential for slipping. While this is very brushed, this has a far more indication that it has been prepared for a surface of hands touching it, where it's, in my opinion, less slip resistant than Bradley's competitors. So they do a good job with just their standard bar without having to have it textured or grooved or peened, whatever their, you know, every manufacturer has their own terminology for that. I have been told that the elderly don't like 1-inch bars because it hurts more, is what I've heard said. And I can only account that to the fact that the surface area is less. And I can certainly also say that 1.5 inch diameter is the most common size. So be mindful, if you're ordering a 1-inch bar, you're doing it for a purpose, for a reason. You might be using this just as an aid to help someone in a shower, in and out of a shower, or just additional help when it's not mandated by code. You could be in a residential application and you want to have a handle somewhere for someone to assist. And a 1-inch bar might be very appropriate for that, because you're not lifting off of the bar, you're just simply trying to hold on kind of scenario. And in a smaller bar on that application, I think would be advantageous because you can get more of your hand wrapped around the bar because it's smaller. That link, again, below the video to the manufacturer's page will take you to the Bradley site within our website. Those are those 2 1/4 inch hex cap bolts, that hex lag screws we talked about earlier. That would be for your wood stud mounting. Okay, it's awfully nice to get the bolts and not have to run to the hardware store and get bolts. So you can select those, and then that mounting linked page down below will define the different mount types for you. So back to what I was saying, the link below this video to the manufacturer's page will allow you to review not only all of the Bradley products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. Bradley, in my opinion, is extremely worthy of review, incredibly high quality material. They are certainly not trying to sell the least expensive material on the market. I believe they're trying to sell the best quality material on the market, and I have never once had a problem with their quality. I would strongly suggest that you review their product line prior to making a final decision on any purchase, small or large, and maybe even try to get your hands on a piece for review as well, especially if it's a larger project. What's going to be important about making a decision when it comes to grab bar and other commercial restroom equipment purchasing decisions is the ability to get service down the road. I have dealt with every major manufacturer of Division 10 or commercial restroom equipment, and I can tell you that Bradley is exceptional. They lead the field when it comes to the ability of being able to just simply respond in a timely fashion. You know, not everything is simple and straightforward when it comes to commercial restroom equipment, and Bradley has a great technical support department. So that is a reason to absolutely consider them as a front runner when it comes to new projects. Any questions on the 8520, 001, 180, or any other Bradley product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.